Welcome to the Natural Super Kids podcast, where you will discover practical strategies to inspire you to boost the health and nutrition of your kids. I'm Jessica Donovan, a qualified naturopath specialising in kids' health, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to raise healthy and happy kids. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Natural Super Kids podcast. Today we're talking about a topic that's close to my heart, anxiety in kids, and specifically the gut-brain connection and how gut health can impact our child's anxiety and mood. And this is totally translatable to adults as well. So if you're struggling with anxiety, then this can be really relevant for you as well. So I say this is close to my heart because I know firsthand the struggles and the challenges of, seeing your child struggle with anxiety. And I know anxiety is complex. There's a lot of different factors, different approaches work better for some kids and others work better for other kids. So I'm not sort of, saying that this is a fix all for anxiety at all, but it's it's an approach that a lot of people aren't aware of when it comes to anxiety and other mood challenges in their kids. Look, we're seeing a rise in anxiety, in diagnosed anxiety, but also in just general anxiety levels among our kids, worry levels and mood struggles. And we can feel like, that our only option to support our kids is medications, which have their own sort of, downsides and side effects, but can be appropriate for some kids for sure. And obviously therapy, counselling, seeing a child psychologist, but that can be really tricky to find a good fit as well. I know we personally had a pretty terrible experience actually with a child psychologist when my daughter was struggling with anxiety quite a few years ago. We waited months and months to get in to see a child psychologist and did not vibe with her at all. Like, I was actually pretty unimpressed about some of the things that she brought up and said. We did end up finding a really lovely counsellor, which I think had a really positive impact. But, anxiety is multifactorial. I think, working on the gut because of that all-important gut-brain connection is part of the picture. Finding the right, therapy support, and also, thinking about supporting the nervous system in general, potentially medication for some kids. All of it is definitely relevant and warranted in different cases. But today we're going to unpack how gut health and the gut-brain connection can influence your child's mood and their anxiety levels. So let's talk about the gut-brain connection or the gut-brain axis put into simple terms. I just find this fascinating. Every time I think about it, every time I talk about it, I'm just like, wow, it's pretty impressive the way that our bodies work. So the gut and the brain are constantly communicating, constantly talking to each other via the vagus nerve that connects them. And this vagus nerve sort of sends chemical messages both ways. So our gut microbes are literally communicating with our brain constantly. And it's a two-way communication as well. And I guess a really eye-opening stat is that 90% of our serotonin, one of our feel-good neurotransmitters, is produced in the gut. Not in the brain, it's produced in the gut. And then, of course, it acts on the brain and it's a huge influence on our mood. And our gut microbes within the gut microbiome, those little beneficial bacteria, also influence GABA, which is another neurotransmitter, dopamine, and other brain chemicals that are linked to calmness, focus, motivation, and our kids' mood and behavior in general. So when the gut is out of balance, it directly affects our kid's brain, how our kid's brain is functioning. And I guess on a simple level, it directly affects how calm or anxious our child feels at any particular moment on any particular day in any particular week. So the gut is super important when it comes to anxiety. It's not the whole approach, but it's a really important piece of the puzzle. So let's dig a bit deeper and talk about how gut imbalances can contribute to anxiety. So first of all, there is dysbiosis, and you may have heard me say this term a lot. I always sort of follow it up by it's an imbalance in the good and bad bacteria within the gut. And for argument's sake, we're going to say here dysbiosis is referring to too many of the bad bugs within the gut microbiome. Now, these bad bugs can produce inflammatory chemicals that can affect the brain in a negative way. So dysbiosis can contribute to anxiety, and dysbiosis, imbalance of that good and bad bacteria, super common in kids, and there's so many things that are leading to that dysbiosis. Our kids' diet, their lifestyle, too much time indoors, not enough time outdoors, lack of fiber in the diet, too many processed foods in the diet, not to mention things like antibiotics and other medications that can trigger that dysbiosis or lead to that dysbiosis as well. Another way that our gut can contribute to anxiety is leaky gut and inflammation. Again, really common in kids. If we think of the gut as like a closed-in tube and, food should stay within that tube until it's fully broken down and then absorbed once it's sufficiently broken down. Leaky gut is where that tube sort of becomes porous. There's holes sort of produced within that tube. So food can leak out, proteins can leak out into the bloodstream before they've been fully broken down. This leads to a lot of systemic inflammation in the body, which can lead to all sorts of issues. So a part of that is that it can stress the nervous system and impact the nervous system and inflammation levels. So that can contribute to anxiety. Low microbiome diversity, so not enough healthy species of bacteria within that gut microbiome, can also contribute to anxiety because it reduces the production of calming neurotransmitters like GABA. And so that can be impacting a child's level of anxiety as well. Nutrient absorption issues are another thing that are at play here. So if we talked about this in last week's episode, that it's not just about the food or the supplements that your child is taking in, it's about how well the nutrients from that food and those supplements are being absorbed. And if there's absorption issues or a low intake of certain nutrients, that can contribute to anxiety as well. But when we're talking about the gut has a huge part to play in how effectively we are absorbing nutrients. And things like low magnesium, low B vitamins, low iron can contribute to and worsen anxiety and mood issues in children. And then again, we talked about this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, parasites. So parasites like blastocystis, dientamoeba, and other, parasites that can be fairly common in children can trigger ongoing gut discomfort, stress signals to the brain, and impact that gut-brain connection and the balance of neurotransmitters as well. So there's a whole range of different ways that gut imbalances can contribute to our children's anxiety levels. So, the gut is an important part of the picture when it comes to anxiety, but I guess it's relevant at different levels for different children. And so some signs that we really need to be focusing on our children's gut health when they have anxiety. So let me sort of walk you through some of these. So if your child has anxiety that seems to flare with certain foods or after gut infections, say they have gastro, or, they're prone to gastro and that seems to trigger anxiety, that can be, a sign that, yes, we need to put a big, strong emphasis on the gut in this particular child's anxiety. If they are, regularly struggling with digestive symptoms, tummy aches, nausea, irregular bowel motions, bathroom issues, especially that show up around stressful times. I'm sure we're all aware of how much stress can impact our digestive system. When we're nervous, we might need to go to the toilet more frequently, for example. That's that gut-brain connection at play in a really obvious way. So if our kids are struggling with digestive symptoms, which a lot of anxious kids are, then that can be a sign that we really need to put a big focus on improving that gut function and that gut balance. Picky eating is another one that often ties in, picky eating that in kids with anxiety, we want to be thinking about their gut. And look, it's tricky because I know when our kids are anxious, they might, their appetite might be affected. Often their appetite is affected. Kids will often have a lower appetite or sometimes even a higher appetite. So again, there's that gut-brain connection at play. If your child is struggling with mood swings, irritability, poor sleep alongside their digestive symptoms, which a lot of, kids that struggle with anxiety are. And when kids are wired but tired, again, a really common presentation in anxiety, they're tired, they're unmotivated, but they're restless at night. They can't switch off. And this is a really common sort of presentation with mums as well. You feel like, you wait all day for bedtime to come and then it's time to go to sleep and you just are wide awake, can't switch off. So these are some of the signs and symptoms and presentations that are really common in kids with anxiety, and where we do want to put a strong emphasis on rebalancing the gut and addressing any gut issues or gut imbalances that our kids have. So as always, we recommend, looking at getting practitioner support from a practitioner to navigate this, because it can be, really messy and wound up together. Is it anxiety? Is it digestive support that they need? Is it nervous system support? It's probably, a combination of all of those things. We know that kids who take probiotics and eat more gut healing foods, fermented foods, often experience calmer moods and better sleep. We see that improvement in kids that are, focusing on their gut health through foods or probiotic supplements. We also know that families, report improvements in resilience and focus and anxiety symptoms once gut imbalances are addressed. We see that all the time, that correlation between improvements in anxiety and mood and resilience and sleep and focus, sort of going in line with improvements in gut function and digestive symptoms. And even small shifts in diet, like reducing sugar, increasing fiber, can really have a significant change on our children's behavior, their mood, and their anxiety presentations as well. Food and mood are so interlinked. Food has a huge impact on our kids' mood and their anxiety levels. And generally, when we're improving our kids' diet, those general improvements, moving to more whole food and away from processed food, reducing sugar, all of those general things we can do to improve our kids' diet are usually gut-friendly sort of moves we can make as well. So we can be, killing those two birds with one stone, improving diet in general and that improving gut health as well. So let's round this off with some practical steps that you can take as a parent to start to improve your child's gut health, improve that gut-brain communication, connection, and start to reduce your child's anxiety symptoms and also just improve their mood in general. So first of all, we can, increase the amount of fermented foods that our kids are eating and, replenish that good bacteria within the gut, make that microbiome as diverse and healthy as possible. So we can focus here on fermented foods, fermented veggies, sauerkraut, kombucha, coconut kefir. There's so many different things that we can include here. If you're a Natural Super Kids Club member, we've got lots of ferment recipes you can make at home. There's so many ferment food products you can buy as well to make it super easy for you. And things like prebiotics are important here as well. So prebiotic fibers, things like onion and garlic and rye and oats and asparagus and green bananas or green banana starch can be really good ways to get prebiotic fibers in. I'm going to link to our Kids Gut Health ebook below where we list out some of these practical things that you can do. So you can download that for absolutely free in the link below. Probiotic supplements can be helpful here as well. Now, all probiotics are not created equal. Different probiotic strains have been shown to be beneficial for that, that gut brain connection and for anxiety in general. So getting professional support here is a good idea. But getting your child onto a good quality probiotic can make a really big difference. We want to support nutrient absorption. So if we are giving our kids nutrients, make sure they're in highly absorbable forms and you're not just taking cheap supplements off the supermarket shelf. It makes a huge difference. And if your child is needing to take iron, for example, because they are iron deficient, make sure it's a good form of iron, potentially within a whole food supplement like a liver spleen supplement or a bisglycinate is what I would recommend, just as a bit of a side note in terms of iron. We want to reduce those gut depleters or gut stressors, processed food, additives, harsh cleaning chemicals within our environments that can deplete that gut microbiome. Again, we talk more about this in our Kids Gut Health ebook, which you can download below. And we want to focus on a calm environment, both when we're eating and, around our kids in general. If their nervous systems are wired, they're struggling with anxiety, the more we can calm things down, the better. Now, again, I know this is much easier said than done. School environments are hectic and chaotic. Family life can be hectic and chaotic. But as much as we can slow things down, the more we can slow things down, the better. So when we're talking about mealtime, particularly, family meals, TV off, maybe some soft music, some family connection time, slowing down that chewing. And, when we're talking about slowing down as well, really prioritizing, unstructured play for our younger kids, particularly, not overscheduling them into all the different activities, especially for those anxious kids. They tend to be a bit more sensitive and they tend to do better with a slower schedule. So the more you can slow down the schedule and slow down eating times, particularly, the better. So I hope this has been helpful. Anxiety can be really tricky to manage. It can take a while to figure out, is this anxiety that my child has? And I hope I've sort of helped you to understand that the gut has a huge part to play when it comes to our child's anxiety and any sort of mood challenges that they might be having. The things that we've talked about here are not a quick fix, but they do make a big difference over time. So remember, gut health strategies coupled with finding some good support through a counsellor or a psychologist, and that nervous system support. Those three things can work really well together. We'd be happy to support you. I'll pop the link to our consultations below that are all done online. And as I said, we've got our free Gut Health for Kids ebook that you can download as well. Reach out to us over on Instagram if you have any questions. Natural Super Kids, you will find us there. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Head on over to our website, naturalsuperkids.com, for the show notes for this episode, as well as a whole heap of inspiration to help you raise healthy and happy kids. I'll see you next week.